Hi, I'm Kathy from Stitch It Together. I made it to the studio today. I'm so excited. I love to actually piece and quilt. And today I'm going to get to the fox blocks. Let me show you what I'm doing. I already have 3 of these blocks. So I have cut out all the tiny, tiny pieces for the fox sections. And I'm going to make those today. I wanted to share with you some of the things that I discovered and that were helpful to me when I was making these fox blocks, or actually all of the blocks. They use a method where you will use a square, tiny square sometimes bigger than this, but particularly with the fox blocks, there were a lot that were 1 inch by 1 inch. And then you use the diagonal square method where you put it on a bigger piece of fabric. Sometimes it's a rectangle and sometimes it's another square. And then you sew diagonally across the square, and then you fold up your corner to end up with something that looks more like this. It's to give it a rounded effect for some of these blocks, but it's very, very, very small. And what I found was more helpful was to take your little tiny square and fold it in half first to make your triangle and press it tight with your fingers. Then I used this product, and you could use another. You could also use, I used this glue based right here to baste it to the actual corners that I could then press it without, just press it without warping the corners. Because what I found is if I did the sewing first and then tried to fold the corner up, because the fabric is so small, it was warping and it wasn't straight anymore. And I found that by using this method, and you can also use a glue stick, that it didn't warp and it stayed in place. These are too small to really use a pin, but you really need your edges to match up, or this method where you stitch diagonally and then you cut the 2 layers behind it off and end up with your shape. It's very hard to keep them straight if you don't pin it. You need your edges to truly meet, or your shape won't be true anymore, and it's just too small to use a pin. And so the glue basting really, this is the first time I've done that, and it really worked really well for me. In terms of the directions for making these blocks, I'm going to say that the directions are very clear except for one place. So when you do the directions, they really only show you the directions for, I think it's the third, this block right here, in terms of making this top binding that has the hands and the ears on it. And you have to, I guess, know that for these little pieces right here that go underneath the hands, it doesn't clearly tell you that you need to go and find the reserved little squares that you cut out when you made the block to place in those corners. Otherwise, you might be looking for either squares that you didn't cut and you don't know why you don't have them. And it doesn't tell you that you need to find, because they're different colors, it doesn't tell you need to find the right colors. Whatever the outside 2 strips are on the outside, those are the ones that you needed to use for those hands. So the directions weren't very clear about that, but other than that, directions were really spot on. And again, using the glue based really helped to make those corners stay, when you flip them over, keep their size. So I hope this is helpful to you. I'm going to be working on the next set of blocks, which I think are the bunny. And as I recall, they don't have pieces that are quite as small as the ones that I was working with, particularly with this square right here. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Happy quilting, everybody. Thanks for watching.